What's up, YouTube? Capital G here. Welcome to another episode of The Excellent Adventures. These are the excellent adventures of Junkbots, and this is one of the strangest little cheese decks that I have seen in quite some time. This deck is crazy explosive. It's all over the place. There are so many moving parts in this deck, and if you like cheese decks, and especially if you like 5Ds, if you like Yusei Fudo, watch this video because you're really going to enjoy these plays. This deck really, especially when you look at it, it kind of looks like an anime deck, so it is incredibly gimmicky. In fact, if some of you guys know some of these cards just by sight, especially this one right here, Scrapfish, you know that this deck is gimmicky because this card can only be activated on Junk Warrior. That's it. You know, Yusei's card, the one that he played for a good portion of like 5Ds as his ace monster, then it became like Stardust Dragon. This card can only be used with that, and there are so many ridiculous gimmicky plays. So as the name suggests, Junkbots, there are a couple of like archetypes and mini engines in this deck. Obviously, you guys can see Despots in his opening hand. Despots work well in here because they're aggressive, they're fast. Despots can cheese your opponent with things like machine duplication and limiter removal, but you also have other engines in here as well. You guys see the symphonic cards in here. You also have some pendulum magicians, and it actually kind of works because this deck it's synchro focused, but you can obviously link summon and you can pendulum summon as well. The reason that I say that the pendulum cards work well is because Despots have pendulum cards as well. Even though you can only pendulum summon when you have the pendulum Despots cards, if you have a Twin Twister, you blow up your like Despot cards, you can summon like Astrograph, so you can do a whole bunch of like crazy things that way. And one of the cool things about this deck is you can actually basically one punch any deck in Yu-Gi-Oh, even if your opponent has powerful monsters on their side of the field, because a lot of times you'll give your opponent a monster and then you OTK them through the monster you just gave them. So let me go ahead and roll it. There's still so much to explain in this deck. Once you see some of this stuff, you can be like, what is going on, Cap G? If you know about Despots and Synchro summons, you might be able to keep up, but outside of that, there's so much randomness in this fucking deck. So I believe he's going to start with Despot 3. That searches Despot 2, which is going to search. Keep in mind, Despots, like the important ones, are not hard once per turn, so he can just keep on special summoning and keep on searching as well. He's going to go for Cleave Genius, then Summon Sorceress, and this is what I'm talking about right here. When I say that you give your opponent a monster to OTK through, he's going to give his opponent a Despot 6, which you guys are like, wait a minute, Cap G, it's in defense mode. How can he OTK him? Just wait. Some of you guys might see where this play is going. Some of you will learn a little later. Goes in that Crystal Needle Fiber, broken card. Why Konami to make that card? He's gonna activate his copy of Scrapfist. This is the cheese card to like beat all cheese cards. Basically, what this card does is it can only be activated on a Junk Warrior, and it turns your Junk Warrior into a Chaos Max Dragon. Not only does it do piercing damage, but then the battle damage is actually doubled. So the fact that his Despot 6 is in defense mode doesn't mean a damn thing. It also locks out your opponent's battle phase as well. So your cards become like your Junk Warrior becomes immune to like Mirror Forces and Honest and all those other cards that can kind of counter your cheese play. So there's basically nothing your opponent can do. Like they have to kill that monster. They have to get rid of that Junk Warrior or the monster you're going to attack into, the Despot 06, before you enter the battle phase. And even more crazy than that, if you guys notice, the Junk Warrior is actually being powered up by the Despot 2. So that's one of the other things that makes this even more cheese. If you have a Despot 2 on the field that's pumped itself up, the Junk Warrior actually gets the stats of that monster as well. So there's basically no hope of your opponent surviving. You see he takes almost 9,000 battle damage right there in defense mode. That's not fun. And let's go to the next one. When you guys see this deck on paper, you're like, wow, this is straight up an anime. I don't think there are any traps in this deck. So if you're looking for a grind deck, this is probably not the one. Although I think one duel is going to get kind of grindy, and if I'm not mistaken, this is not going to be like a turn one cheese play. I think he's going to try and go somewhat for a turn one cheese play, but it's just not going to work out. He's going to use Heavy Metaphors Electromite. Obviously, that in conjunction with Astrograph Sorcerer is absolutely bonkers. I think Astrograph is going to get itself limited or banned, or Heavy Metaphors Electromite might. So he's going to go Summon Sorceress again. This time he goes Despot 02. It's fine. All the Despots have low defense, but he's not able to really do the OTK here. And his opponent actually is in maybe a better position than he was before. And I think he's going to get absolutely wrecked if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be interesting because, yeah, his opponent is going to capitalize off that kind of lackluster turn one that he had. Summon Sorcerers, none of these cards stun your opponent. So he's going to get him down to 1,000 life points, and he's going to go up to Decode Talker, which I'm going to say is it's somewhat legitimate. He's giving up his dragons, but they mainly float, so it's not that big of a deal. He's going to get cards for, not cards for red. He's going to get Red Eye's Return of Red Eye. Yeah, Return of Red Eyes. And you look at this guy's hand, Now, when you assess this situation right here, obviously targeting is kind of out of the picture because he has decode on the field. I told you guys, this deck is pretty much OTK or bust, but look at what he has. Remember, this Scrap Fist is so gimmicky, it can only be activated with just Junk Warrior. How's he summoning Junk Warrior with the shit in his hand? And his opponent has 8,000 life points to his 1,000. It is absolutely OTK or bust. Watch how he pulls this shit off. This is, just tell me this is not a fucking anime play. He needs one card to like make this whole thing work. He gets that Despot 03 and just watch the magnificence that is going to ensue. I believe he's going to Link Summon fairly soon. I forget what Link Summon he's gonna go for. Yeah. Oh my god, this is how he does it, right? Yeah, so he goes for Junk Connector. This is the new Link monster, and for the most part you don't use its first effect, but its second effect is so relevant in this deck. So he ends up running into his opponent's monster, taking 700. That gets him his Junk Warrior, which obviously is going to get a little bit of a boost from his Despot 2. Check this out. He activates the Scrap Fist, damage step. He activates the, what is this guy's name again? Rush Warrior. And did you guys just see that? That was 12,800 damage in one fucking attack, because not only does he do double battle damage, but then this right here increases his attack even more. It basically doubles his attack. So this dude got doubled his attack, and then he did double damage on top of that. So yeah, he basically did 13,000 attack or 13,000 damage in that one attack. And keep in mind, his hand was absolute garbage before he drew that Despot. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this deck is so cheese, and if you don't OTK your opponent, a lot of times you're going to get wrecked. But this duel, I think it is going to be a little grindy. And when the duels get grindy, you kind of have to just figure out ways. Like, you have to do stuff like that. Like, you have to figure out a way to win with the muddled pieces that you have, because everything is just so much of a clusterfuck in this deck. So I believe he's playing Noble Knights here, and this is why I praise Isode. The first second I saw that card, I was like, oh my god, it's so good for Noble Knights. Look at the stuff that Noble Knights can do turn one. Noble Knights is, you know, probably one of Konami's biggest failures as a TCG exclusive archetype. And if you look what he did turn one, my eyes aren't what they used to be, but I believe he has 6 cards on field, 4 in the hand. That's a +5 turn one. +5 turn one for Noble Knights. Like, that's incredible, and it's all thanks to Isode. Like, that's pretty damn good. And yeah, I think this duel is going to get kind of grindy. Anytime you start with your Despot 3, I think you're in pretty good position. He is going to be forced to blow up his own Despot, but it's fine. The Despots, I think that's, what Despot is that? Is this Despot, the Despot Pendulum monsters? Oh, I think they, almost all of them, like when they're destroyed, they in the pendulum scale, they summon a monster back from the graveyard, a Despot monster. That's Despot 5. Okay, yeah, Despot 5 and Despot 6 do that. So he is able to go for a Borreload turn one. He's gonna take that Xyz monster, and he's gonna take the Xyz, and then he's able to run over Summon Sorcerers. And I was like, bro, I think he actually came up with an incredibly strong play. Now I was thinking, okay, this is really bad for Noble Knights, because all of your Noble Arm cards are on your opponent's monster that he temporarily has. And how are you killing Borreload? I thought that might be a problem, and then no, killing Borreload for Noble Knights apparently is just not a problem at all, because he was able to answer Borreload like incredibly quickly. He just rams into it. The little I think her name is like Guaverlin or something like that. You guys know the monster that becomes an equip card. I think she blows up any monster that's not light attribute, like Catastrophe. So she basically blows up Borreload. He's gonna lose that Xyz monster too. So once again, he's in a pretty shitty position where I was like, dude, I don't think he can pull this off, because the Noble Knight guy still has a lot of advantage, and he got that Ghost Ogre, which is extra protection. He's going to go for Junk Warrior, and I thought that's how he was going to come back, but that's going to get Ogred. He does, however, have Astrograph, which is nice because he's able to summon it. So let's see where he's going to go. He does Pendulum Summon. He's going to go for Heavy Metaphors Electromites. I believe that his Despot 5 actually popped a back row card as well, because Despot 5, I believe, pops a back row. And I was kind of trying to figure out where he was going. I was like, maybe he's going to go for another Link 4. Maybe he plays a second Borreload. He does go for Scoldy. And once he got that limiter removal, I was like, uh-oh, I think he just got his cheese. He activates, he goes for Junk Collector again, and check out this cheese. This Junk Warrior has 9,500 attack. Is this 9,600 attack. The reason its attack is so high is because he used limiter removal on his on his field, and it actually increased his Despot 2. So even though Despot 2 is not attacking, it doesn't matter because his Junk Warrior gained all the attack from it. Like, that's the level of cheese. Once I saw that, I was like, oh my god, that is hilarious. He's basically using a defense position monster to increase, like, to OTK with an attack position monster. It's I didn't phrase it that well, but you guys understand what I'm saying. It's a pretty nutty play. So yeah, you do actually summon Junk Collector. Wait, is it Connector? I'm sorry. You do summon Junk Connector a lot. This final duel is against Metaphys, which I don't think Metaphys is all that good. I kind of expected him to just completely roll over this guy. I think this might be a questionable play. He goes into the Earth Invoked monster. The reason I say it's questionable, right, is because why, I don't know, like, why go into the Earth Invoke monster if you have, like, double Honest in your hand? Doesn't going into Merkaba just seem like infinitely smarter? Because, I mean, it's not likely this 3,000 attacker is going to get ran over, so I mean, I don't know. I feel like if you go into Merkaba, not only can you negate some stuff, but then you also have Honest and Alistair to back you up. So, I don't know. It just seemed like a really weird play to me. Let's see how he pulls this one out of the Magician's hat. So, he's going to Pendulum Summon. That's going to get 2's effect. He's going to go for 3 and get another 2, which is going to get another effect. And he's going to go for Heavy Metaphors Electromite. And I think he's going to summon Sorcerer. I do not like that interaction. I think that is so ridiculously broken, the interaction right there. Goes for Skull Deep to fix his hand. And I think he's trying to summon Junk Warrior. I think he's just trying to go for Needle Fiber. That's what I think he's trying to dig for, because you can see once he gets his Scrap Fist, it's pretty much just like, get the Junk Warrior and I can basically OTK through anything. The fact that his opponent does not have like a light monster is really bad. So he sees that Scrap Fist and he just scoops, because this guy once again is 6100 attack and he does double battle damage. Actually, you know what? Honest is irrelevant here, because even if he did have Merkaba, he would not have been able to negate because he has no spells in his hands, and he locks out the battle phase anyway. So yeah, I guess he could have had 16 copies of Honest. It wouldn't have mattered. So you know what? Maybe he misplayed, but in the grand scheme, it just didn't matter. So I don't know the math, how much damage he was going to do with this attack, but I do know that like Needle Fiber is 2300 attack, and then he was going to take another 28 on top. And it's actually, when you look at limiter removal in this deck, you know what? Let me go ahead and show you guys the deck, because I'm talking and I could be showing you the deck and saying the same things at the same time. Limiter removal is so busted in this deck because you make so many different machine monsters. Your Despots already can power themselves up, and if you look at this deck, yeah, you have some Despots in here. You do play some junk cards. Only one copy of Junk Synchron. You can summon it straight from the deck, so you don't have to like draw. You can draw it, obviously. You can summon it from the deck. So I don't really think you need to run more than one copy. Like, if somehow it gets Mind Crushed or something like that, I mean, you'll probably have to find another cheese play. And another cool thing, he does run Action Magic full turn. I told you that this card was pretty good, being able to do double battle damage, especially in a deck like this where you already run a card that does double battle damage, and you have so many ways of cheesing your opponent, because you can stack this, plus you can stack full turn with Scrap Fish, you can stack full turn with limiter removal. So there are enough like really cheesy kind of stupid ways to be able to pull that off, let alone the Despots themselves get pretty powerful too. So even if you're not able to get to Junk Warrior, there's still the possibility of just completely cheesing your opponent with I don't know, Despot 2, Despot 3 plus Machine Duplication. I mean, that's a very legitimate play. So whatever you guys think, let me know in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already. Count how many times I said cheese in this video. Probably too many. Anyways, thank you guys.